Let me give you some more information on it, Erica. And by the way, everybody, I'm speaking with Erica L. Abrams, and she is the Gen X wealth architect, not Gen Z, not Gen Y.
That's
Anyway,
okay. I
and
look young.
it, yep, that's right, that's right. And we're talking about Kevin Hart's company and just kind of just really sort of picking picking at the carnage to see if there's lessons that can be learned from this. And in case you want to know, this is kind of a way that business schools teach business, the good ones anyway, is you find case studies and you say, well, what can we learn from this? And actually, as I go to Morehouse in the fall, since I'm preparing a seminar class with case studies, I think this might be one that I might add to the list. And so here's what happened apparently with these two individuals. Now I remember they were part of the podcast division, and so
Mm.
basically, to give you just the details, there's two people: Eric Eddings, who joined HartBeat Media in 2022. He was the leader in the podcast audio division, and the second one is Leslie Guam, and she was hired in 2023. And they were accused of basically mismanaging major client relationships, leading to the client not renewing their contract, etc. And they were actually fired, from what I understand. This is what I'm getting here, and this is alleged, of course. Basically, while they were employed, I guess HartBeat Media feels that they started planning their exit by creating a competing podcast company, and they claim in the lawsuit that they use internal knowledge, client lists, financials, investor contacts, and strategies to pitch investors on their new venture. They were trying to raise $2 million. So from their perspective, I think that what was going on, and as the more I read again, I'm just looking at the tea leaves here and using my instincts, is I got this sense that they had a lot of projects that they put in place for HartBeat Media, and for whatever reason they were shelved and stalled. And I'm getting, who knows, it could have been because of money, because it takes money to launch something new. And if there's no outlet, like if they don't have a buyer for that content or whatever, and they don't know how to take it direct to consumer and monetize that way, then they may say, well, we don't want to do it because it costs too much, right? And that's something that a lot of people don't get. Like I've seen it where I remember when I used to hang out with Damon Dash a lot, and he talked about dealing with Kanye West and how Kanye wanted to push his stuff out really fast. So they have artists that wanted to get their album out, and they don't understand that to put an album out requires a lot of money and a lot of marketing money. So if you got one album, so Jay-Z puts out an album and his album is making money, they may say, hold off. We don't have the budget to promote 4 or 5 projects at once. So it's not just the production of what you created, it's the ability to distribute and monetize, which means we have to have a marketing push. So I'm wondering if the shut off from the economic daddy, the Netflixes and stuff, caused them to get to the point where they were like, okay, that's a great idea. We love it, but we can't do it right now because Netflix ain't paying for it, and we don't have the money to really put it out there. Which really, in my opinion, Erica, speaks to a vulnerability that a lot of Black business owners have when you have a business model that is sort of linked to one, two, three, or four really big clients, say in another community that can write big checks. But you haven't really learned how to truly do, like, say, what an Apple does. Apple doesn't need an economic daddy. Apple knows how to make an iPhone, sell it to a customer, and sell 10, sell a billion of them, right? And fill up their war chest with cash. I see a lot of Black businesses where they can't do that. They say, well, but I know somebody over at Universal and I'm going to sell products. I think those are two very different business models and somewhat risky. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And that's been a challenge for us, Black business owners and entrepreneurs or aspiring business owners, is access to capital and access to resources, access to the people who can green light our projects. And it's not for lack of money because, Dr. Claude Anderson, as well as individuals that, care about us, teach us all the time. And we can look at the numbers to know that we have what is it, trillions in spending power, right? So there's levels to it because a lot of us that have made it, the entertainers and the athletes that have access to large amounts of capital, we find it challenging for them to reinvest in the community, creating our own, venture capital funds. I mean, there are some out there,